All right, let's go to get started, man. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. Oh my God, we'll do that. We'll do this. We'll do this. Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast, episode 134. For today's topic, we're going to be discussing the question that you should be questioning. Truly, always questioning yourself is who is influencing you. Now, this is a huge question that unfortunately doesn't get asked enough, which is why I'm here to go ahead and question for you guys. So if you are in here, make sure you go ahead and leave a like, and also make sure you leave a comment as well, just like it's used in here. And a few things I want to say before I go ahead and get started. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on TikTok. I just posted some new videos, so make sure you go and tap in with that for sure. I've been telling y'all that I was gonna do it, and I finally did it. So make sure you go ahead and tap in with that for sure. Also, make sure you go ahead and leave a like on my YouTube Shorts, which I did post more as well. And make sure you go ahead and leave a like on my YouTube clips as well. Getting it started, give me 1 second. All right. So I came up with this idea because I see a lot of people. I see a lot of people believe a lot of different things. Hold up, give me 1 second. Can y'all hear? Hold up, man. Hopefully you can hear me. Like I said, let me know if you can hear me. Right, whatever. We'll move on. So the reason why I wanted to specifically talk about this topic is because I feel like people don't exactly they don't have enough questions for their life. Truly, I don't see them questioning the things that must be questioned, and I truly am the one to go ahead and question these things. So yeah, that's how I wanted to get started. Let me just check on the audio real quick, man. How do I do this? How do I check on audio, man? It should be fine, man. It should be fine. I'm gonna keep running it. All right. So the question I have for you is who is influencing you? And more importantly, do you want this to condition your mind? This is the most important question that you could ask along with the actual topic. But do you want this to condition your mind? Right? There's going to be a lot of things that unconsciously condition your mind that you're simply just allowing to condition your mind that you might not even like, right? Like let's just say for example, right? I'm gonna speak to the 98% of people that probably do this, right? You get up in the morning, what's the first thing that you do? Before you get a drink of water, before you get some sunlight, before you kiss a loved one, you probably go on your phone, right? Let's just keep it 1,000. Most people watching this are probably gonna go on their phone. One of the first two or three things that you do to start your day, if not the first thing to start your day, you're gonna go on your phone. Fine. When you do that, and something that I've observed from time and time again doing it, and also being an observer of a person who doesn't do it, is those first let's just say the first hour of your day is probably some of the most impressionable moment of your entire day when it comes to the inputs that you go ahead and allow yourself to have, right? Which eventually dictate all the thoughts that you have. I wouldn't say all the thoughts, but dictates a good portion of the thoughts that you actually have throughout the day, right? So let's just say, for example, you wake up and you see some news about something that truly has no effect on your life at all, and now you're thinking about it. When in reality, it shouldn't be a thought of yours because, quite frankly, it doesn't has nothing to do with you and doesn't affect your life in any way at all. But yet, you still allowed it to be a part of what is your morning, what is your most impressionable point of your day, and maybe you'll have a thought about it, maybe you won't. But at the very least, it's going to be in your subconscious mind, which is what I find to be most interesting because most people don't even think of it that way. Most people don't even acknowledge that, but yet you still see people, and even me. Like I said, I'm a victim of this as well. I'll admit it. I'll admit it. But like I said, I've also had plenty of times where, and this is what I will do starting tomorrow, getting back into the habit of not going on my phone because I know that it's going to influence my thoughts. So um, that is just going. That's just the way I would like to start it. Like I said, if you're in here, make sure to leave a comment. If you're watching on Twitch, also want you to go ahead and leave a comment and also leave a follow as well if you're not already following. So yes, I'm gonna give you a few questions that you need to ask yourself right now. Okay? So for the content that you consume, right, which is inevitably influencing you, whether you would like to admit it or not, um, do you want this to condition your mind? More importantly, this is a good question right here as well. Where do you get your inputs and news from? Inputs are just anything that you consume. Where do you get them from? Like, do you get it from people that you're around? Maybe you get it from the news. Maybe you get it from social media. Whatever it is, right? Where do you get your inputs from? Maybe you get them from a book as well. And specifically, where do you get your news from? Another question that you can ask yourself is, who do you let condition your mind? Now you think about the platforms, you think about the resources, but more importantly, who are the individuals that condition your mind, that truly influence you, right? So maybe this is some of your favorite celebrities, maybe it's some of your favorite YouTubers, or maybe it's an athlete or a rapper, or whatever it is, right? Those are going to be the who, right? You need to ask yourself, who are you letting condition your mind? Who are you letting influence? Who are you letting influence your thoughts, right? With this being said as well, another question you must ask yourself is, why do you let them condition your mind, right? Most people for most of these questions, most people are just going to answer, they I wouldn't say they don't care, but necessarily they don't even give it a second thought, right? They just do, as opposed to question what they do, right? Which is most people, unfortunately. But why do you let these people condition your mind? Do they truly bring great value? Are they not bringing any value at all, right? And that is ultimately going to be my biggest message of today, right? Is understanding that a lot of the things that you consume, and a lot of things that I consume, and a lot of things that most people consume, truly has nothing to do with you or your life, and is not going to make you better at all, and is probably not even worth hearing about or consuming at all. But yet we still do it. Like I said, it's just something that you must question. So like I said, why do you let them condition your mind? And hopefully the correct answer to this is because I have a lot of people who truly make a great impact on the world, and I would love to do the same thing myself. So I consume people's content. I consume inputs of those people who do those positive things. Right now, most people are not going to answer that the same way. So, like I said, this is why you must question yourself and question who you let influences you, and why you let them influence you in the first place. Right? Like I said, there's going to be a lot of people you probably follow. You watching this right now, there's probably going to be a lot of people you follow. In reality, you could probably go without seeing them post a photo of their dog every 5 days, right? Whatever it is, right? Obviously, that's very, very, very silly example, but at the same time, you get what I'm saying, right? You can go without it because realistically, like I said, it doesn't affect your life at all, really, but it does, right? Getting back into it, right? Another question you can ask yourself is, with these questions and the understanding and the answers that you've given yourself with these questions, should you rethink what you consume and why you consume it? Is it even worth a consideration, right? Of course, there's going to be a lot of people. Maybe a lot of people click off the video. Maybe they hear me out, right? But at the same time, you still must ask yourself that question: is it even worthy of rethinking the things that you consume and why you should consume them, right? And I would say, for the most part, I would say I'm gonna speak for like 95% of people. 95% of people probably should rethink the things that they consume, because truly they don't consume anything that's actually good, or that's helpful. Ultimately helpful. And of course, you need to have a balance. And I'm pretty sure I'll get criticism for this. You need to have some balance between entertainment and actual, like, education, right? And most people just have only entertainment, or most people have only education. You obviously need to find a healthy balance of both. But at the same time, when you analyze the entertainment, which, like I said, I would say most people probably consume for entertainment, right? They're bored. They just want to see something. They want something that's going to catch their interest or catch their attention, right? But when you evaluate specifically what is, I wouldn't say we'll say what is, when you evaluate what you're being entertained by, is it anything that's actually of substance at all, or is it just a bunch of nonsense that you consume? Are you truly wasting your human time, the time that you have as a human? Are you truly wasting that? Right? These are questions you must ask yourself, right? And one thing I want to mention with this is, when I talk to someone, this is something that I do unconsciously. I would say most people probably do this unconsciously, if they do it even at all. When I talk to someone, I always like to analyze these things about them, right? I'll ask them certain questions just to try to get a better understanding of this person's view of the entire world, the way that they see things. Like I said, I'll begin to evaluate the type of music they like. Maybe if they're a TV or show type of person, or maybe they like videos. Regardless, right? I always ask certain questions to get certain answers, right? Like I said, I do this unconsciously. It's not like I'm plotting and scheming. I'm not doing that. But at the same time, I like to get a good read on somebody by asking them these questions. Not the ones that I've asked, but what's up, Josh? but just asking them questions surrounding their interests, right? And their interests are built on their inputs, and their inputs are built on what, right? Where are you intaking these interests? Where are you intaking these certain inputs, right? Um, and like I said, a lot of people. I'm gonna give you the list of some things that condition you, some things that influence you, consciously or unconsciously. These things are gonna influence most people, or have at the very least. You got music. Really, I'm quiet today. Really, hold up, man. You are quiet. Can you turn up your? I really wish I could, but unfortunately, I'm maxed out on my end. I really can't do anything on my end. If I'm quiet, let me know. But I should be pretty good. Actually, I should be pretty good. If that affected anything, that affected anything. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Whatever. Getting back into what I was saying, right? These are going to be some of the things that truly influence you, right? Whether you're conscious of it or whether you're unconscious of it, it's going to influence you. You got music, you got shows, you got TV, you got the news, you got social media, obviously. And then you think back, like, what has influenced you in your life? You got things like school, you got things like people, obviously, right? And obviously, you can add on to that list, but those are just going to be some of the most foundational inputs, the most foundational things that condition and influence you, right? And your decisions that you make and the life path that you go towards, right? With that being said, why don't you question? Why don't you question whether this is something that legitimately should be a input? This should be an influencing factor in your life. So the more you begin to question, the more you realize a lot of different things about a lot of different inputs that you do or that you see the average person consuming, right? And one thing that I have observed when I started asking myself these questions is I started to see through the system. When you begin to question more and more, when you begin to question more, the veil that society has over you and your eyes, right, begins to be lifted slowly, right? And you start to see the world for truly what it is, as opposed to society showing you what it thinks it should be, right? So when I kind of get into that, things like music, things like shows, things like TV, things like the news, like I said, the school system, things like that. Question whether these things truly have your best interests in mind. This is something that I'm always going to do with anything that I choose to do in this life. Like I said, music. Maybe I'm not saying your favorite artist, make sure you get rid of them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's going to be certain sacrifices that you need to evaluate as potential sacrifices for you to make in your own life if it's truly going to contribute and you know it's going to truly contribute to a better life. So with that being said, me personally, I don't consume any shows or TV at all or news like the traditional, like, any of the news, anything on TV pretty much except sports. I'm really not paying attention to at all because truly I realized, it doesn't do anything. And that's why I question people when they, oh yeah, I'm watching this one show right now. Oh yeah, I just watched this TV show. I just watched this movie. I watch movies occasionally. That's my one thing. I watch them occasionally, maybe once every few months, whatever it is. But at the same, getting back to the point that I wanted to make, is it even worth consuming at all, right? So for example, I'm gonna say things, and like I said, whether you agree or disagree, I at least want you to hear these things out. Okay, there's certain things like the news, for example. The news is a perfect example of something that you should not consume at all. It should not consume an ounce of your attention at all because truly, if you've evaluated what's truly happened within the last few years, you should understand very, very thoroughly that maybe the news truly doesn't have your best interest in mind, which is probably going to be mind blowing to some of you, but it's true. It's true. It's true, right? And I've said this for the longest time, and I'll be a huge advocate against the news all day, every day, because I realize that it's not doing anything for you. It's not contributing positively at all to this world at all. Now, it's nothing more than putting people in fear, right? And of course, I'm not saying be naive and don't acknowledge the existence of these things, but at the same time, you must understand. Well, first, the news is struggling to find people. I'm getting off on a tangent, but the news is struggling to find people or not struggling to find people, but struggling to find people who want to consume that. It's actually, I'm pretty sure, um, the lowest viewership that I think it's ever had since TV came out in the first place, or news specifically. What about news that doesn't lean in any political direction? Exactly my point. It always has this, and this is what I'm saying. With any input that you do go ahead and consume, it has an agenda. It has an agenda to an extent, right? There's this there's this underlying motive within any content that you consume. There's going to be an underlying motive, and um, maybe it's like I said, maybe it's in the direction of something political, right? Which begins to allow you to hopefully question what you're consuming and why you're consuming it. Um, I want to know about local crime. Okay, if that's you, that's cool. But truly, me learning about local crime is truly not going to make my life any better or worse. It's not. Or not. Well, I would say not even worse, but me learning about local crime is not going to positively contribute to my life at all. So it's like, is there even any point? That's my thing, right? And if you find interest in that, cool. Just know that most people are not going to find interest in that, and truly, it has no utility in most people's lives, right? And if you still want to consume it, go right ahead. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is this, right? There's going to be certain things like shows, like TV, like the news, like the school system, like certain people in your life, or maybe even the music that you consume as well. Some of these things are going to have underlying motives, underlying true messages. And with that being said, it must be your job to go ahead and figure out specifically what they're trying to tell you and what they're trying to keep from telling you, right? And of course, I'm not saying to hyper analyze shows and things like that. Most of them are, like I said, are useless in my opinion. But at the same time, why don't you question more? Why don't you question more? Why do you not question who's truly influencing you? Who are you getting your information from? Why are you not questioning these things? And like I said, the more you begin to question, the more you begin to learn about these certain things, the more the veil has been lifted. And you start to see patterns, you start to see things that make you question whether the conditioning is actually worth it at all, right? Um, like I said, the news was a good example, but there's a lot of other things when it comes to influencing. Like I said, for example, I'll use the example I used earlier with your phone and things like that, right? You, okay, you think you have a choice, but in reality, you kind of don't. You kind of don't have a choice, right? Because we are all hyper addicted to dopamine, to our phones, right? And even though it is your choice whether you pick up your phone or not, or being influenced by the things on your phone or not, it's truly not, because they've truly gotten to a point where if they want you to see something on the internet, they're gonna get you to see it for the most part. Like 99% of people, like they're gonna get you to see it, right? That is just keeping it 1,000, right? I should question you, LOL. I get my information from you. Yes, you should question me, right? You should question my motives, just like I said, just as you question any other source of information. But at the very least, if there's one thing I can guarantee you that's going to be different than most things that you consume. I'm going to say this, and like I said, whether you like to admit it or not, this is going to be the reality, and you'll see it in a few years from now as well. Is I truly have the best interest in mind. I don't just say that. I back it up. I back it up truly. So, like I said, you should question all of the inputs to make sure that they're actually positively contributing to your life. And if they're not, then they should be questioned and potentially removed. Like I said, the reason why I wanted to make this specific podcast is because I recognize so many people wasting their lives on certain inputs that truly have no reason to be in their life at all, right? Why are you allowing yourself to be consumed by something that truly has no essence, has no substance. It just doesn't make any sense to me. This is something, like I said, this is why I always question these things, because it has no substance. I don't understand the appeal. And the second you start questioning these things is the second you start questioning your own appeal for the things that you have interest in, because maybe you find interest in something that you truly recognize after watching this podcast. This doesn't even do anything for me. There's just no point. Um, Another thing that could potentially influence you is things like video games as well, right? And I can make a separate podcast just strictly on video games. I'm a person who stopped playing video games consistently. I don't even have a game system in my room, and I haven't had one since I was 18, so it's been about 3 years. But And I questioned myself. My 18-year-old self questioned himself, right? It was like, is playing video games actually going to contribute to me having a better life? Yes or no? And it was an easy question. Of course not. It's nothing more than a waste of time. It's nothing, and I'm not saying it's not a good time. It's a good time, but it's a waste. It's a waste ultimately at the end of the day. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is this: question everything that you consume and the reason you consume it. Because if you don't, then you're blindly getting led. You're blindly leading yourself into a type of conditioning that maybe you didn't even ask for, and you're nothing more than just a victim of your circumstance instead of the controller of your destiny. And I want you to be a controller of your destiny. And the only way you truly can be a controller of your destiny is if you're questioning the things that you consume. And also, not only questioning the things that you consume, but more importantly, questioning the things that everyone else around you consumes. Why did they consume it? Does it actually contribute to their life? Right? These are questions that I've said time and time again on this specific podcast. But I want to show the true value in needing to ask these questions because they truly need to be asked. Um, and I want to say this as well, right? Most people are letting things influence them that they don't exactly like, right? So, for example, there's going to be certain things in the media right now that maybe a lot of people disagree with. But the interesting thing about that is, even though they don't like it, they're still too afraid to say anything else, which is interesting. Which is this, like I said, which is why I had this podcast in the first place. Because if I don't like something, let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it instead of me not liking something and me not saying anything. Like most people, even most people watching this, or most people that exist, they don't question it because they just, I don't know. I don't know personally. I don't know anymore. But what if I play puzzle games which stimulate my mind and keep me learning? Like I said, if you would like to spend your time like that, if you would like to spend your human hours, um, and it potentially can, and you see benefit in that, then go ahead and do that. Do you think it's still a waste of time? I think most things are a waste of time, truly. But like I said, it ultimately comes down to your motive, your own motive, and analyzing if that motive is actually truly going to benefit you at all, right? So, for example, right, let's just say you're talking to a video gamer, right? They're going to say, oh, yeah, no, of course, with evaluating everything, this brings me a really good time. I get to connect with my friends and things like that. And of course, he'd be able to maybe justify that for himself of why he wants to go ahead and consume it. But at the same time, you must look at it from the grand scheme of life. Look at it from an objective point of view. Is this truly going to benefit my life? And here's the thing: you'll come to realize that a lot of the things that you consume, and a lot of things that you've been consuming, and a lot of the things that most people consume is nothing more than just a waste of time. And I want to get back to the point that I had mentioned, right? And this is so key. This is so key, and I'll be a complete advocate for this until the day I die, right? Most people are letting things influence them, and they don't even like it, but yet they're still too afraid to say anything about it. So, for example, I could get into this. I can get into this specific example. How would I like to describe this? Give me a second. Give me a second. Um. Hmm. All right. Do I really want to get into that topic? We'll get into it. We'll get into it. For example, right? So understand that you're in control of the inputs to an extent. You have some control. You have some control, of course. But with that being said, there's going to be certain things that, let's just say, the school system. The school system is a perfect example of this, where maybe they're teaching your kids things that maybe you don't want them to learn, or maybe you could care less about them learning, right? And I say that because I see this one example. I'm not going to get, if you know what I'm talking about, hopefully you know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, um, maybe me explaining a little bit more will help you understand. But basically, the reason why I say people are too afraid to say otherwise, and they're letting things just happen, in that it's because I see some people talking up about things that they truly do not like. So, for example, right, there's this movement that's going on, and it's infiltrating the school system, and it's allowing the teachers to go ahead and teach kids about things that maybe they shouldn't know about at that early of an age. And you have this uprise of adults who truly do not like this because that's their kids, and they don't see the utility in learning something like that, right? And my thing is this, right? If there's certain things that are influencing you, unconsciously, or if you see people um, allowing things to influencing them that they don't like, and they don't do anything about it, you're contributing positively, or you're contributing negatively to the message that you truly want out. So, for example, if you're wanting to put up with, let's just say, for example, right? Give me a second, right? Let's just say, for example, there's something that is like racist, right? By you not saying anything, you're contributing to it being a consistent thing, because you're not saying anything about it, right? And this goes along with anything when it comes to the things that you do not like, uh, that society is trying to influence you on, right? If you don't say anything, if you're too afraid to speak up because of the potential consequences, even though there's really no consequences, then you're contributing to the thing in which you do not like. And obviously, I think that's a huge problem, and I see it too much. This is why I'm mentioning it. So, with that being said, if you see something like that in today's society, I want you to go and let me know. Very true about the news, especially Fox and CNN. Sorry, not sorry. That's why you really have to do your research with what you read, because people lie, and so does the news. That was said by a very, very well respected voice on Twitch. Like I said, make sure you go and follow me on Twitch if you're not already following me. But that is a good point. That is a good point right there. That is a good point. And I'll go ahead and respond to that point. So let me look at it again. Yes, you must question everything. Like I said, if you end up blindly complying and blindly listening to the things that you're told, and you don't second guess the things that you're told, then you're nothing more than a slave. Are you not? You're nothing more than a slave. You're nothing more than a person who just does exactly what they're told. And you're not questioning the motives of the people who are telling you what to do, which is the start of a tyranny. So that's exactly what I'm saying, right? So when it comes to who's influencing you, you must evaluate what they're doing. What are their underlying motives, man? That's what I'm trying to get into. What are the underlying motives? Do they truly have your best interests in mind? Or are they just trying to benefit off of you? Or are they trying to spin the narrative? Or are they trying to lie to you? Or are they trying to blank? Fill in the blank, right? Fill in the blank. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is this: there's going to be a lot of things that are really not worth consuming, and there's going to be a lot of things that you do consume that is worth reconsidering again. And if you're not in the position to go ahead and reconsider it, then you're nothing more than blindly complying. Because I'm a person who's going to question most things that I consume. Most things that I consume get questioned. The things that I don't consume are things that I've already vetted. And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, man. And I'm not saying destroy all your favorite habits. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be that guy. But like I said, I'm trying to get you to analyze it for yourself. And if you feel that decision to be best for you, then go ahead and make that decision. But I'm not saying you get rid of your favorite TV shows, your favorite news, this and this and this, right? If it's news, for damn sure. Um, do you think it's still okay? No, yeah, never mind. My bad. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is this, right? Question the motives of everybody, and evaluate who's truly influencing you. Do you truly want them to influence you, or can you live without their influence, right? A lot of people's influence you can live without, and hopefully you have a lot of people whose influence is positive, so it's actually worth your time, right? I'm thankful enough to have found a lot of positively influential people in my circle of influence, so therefore I go ahead and indulge within content like that instead of consuming shit that I could live without. Simple as that. And I want to get back into this point. I want to get back into this point because this is probably going to be one of the most important things of the entire podcast. One of the biggest issues that we have as people is not taking a stand for what we truly believe in because we're too afraid of the potential repercussion. When in reality, the biggest repercussion that we could ever have is by you not saying what needs to be said. There's things that need to be said. There's opinions that need to be shared that are not being shared right now. When it comes to overall influence, when it comes to overall inputs, when it comes to all the things that condition your mind, all the things that I'd mentioned earlier, right? There's going to be a lot more things that condition your mind, but my main message is this: if you don't like something, say something about it. And the fact that I even have to give that advice it says a whole lot. It says a whole lot because people should be doing that, and people naturally do that. People naturally disagree. And you see a lot of people right now that are not. You question those people. Why are they not? Why are they just believing everything that they're told? Why are they being completely brainwashed? Why are they allowing it to happen? And here's the thing, one thing that I don't like is I see some of these people and because like I said, they're just okay with it. They're just okay with it. And I'm like, are you even a conscious being at this point? Are you truly even a conscious being? Do you even have thought? Because here's the thing, you're nothing more than just a robot who's literally repeating exactly what they're told instead of analyzing many different inputs and then coming to your own conclusion. This is something that I'm a huge advocate for as well. Come to your own conclusion. Don't believe everything you're told. Take in a little bit of everything and make your own opinion, right? But I don't see enough people truly doing that at all. Like I said, I see people who question what they're told, and then I see people who believe everything that they've ever been told. And then you see ridiculous stuff. I don't want to get into it, man. I don't want to get into it, but let's just say you see ridiculous stuff in public that you might not see if people didn't blindly comply to things that they don't even believe in, right? It's like I said, I can't stress the importance of needing to question the things that you're told. I can't reiterate it enough, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Like I said, if you're in here right now, I want you to go and leave a comment. I would appreciate any contribution that you can go ahead and give to this podcast. But yeah, like I said, today's topic: who influences you? What do you allow to condition your mind? Where are you getting your inputs from? Who, why, and are you even questioning these things at all? Right? I feel like a lot of people, they're just, like I said, they're just not, and that is why I wanted to make this specific podcast, because things deserve to be questioned, because things are not always exactly what they're told to be. And that is the unfortunate reality of life. And like I said, if you've learned anything from the last few years of existence, you start to hopefully see. Hopefully, okay. What I'll say is this: if you're watching this, hopefully the veil, if it hasn't been lifted if it hasn't been lifted by the way society's been going the last few years, hopefully this podcast is going to help you lift the veil for yourself. But like I said, there's when you see literally manipulations, when you see the society being manipulated, when you see your fellow citizens being manipulated, you start to question the citizen themselves, right? That's what I've done. Because here's the thing: if you know the system is faulty to an extent, and you still see people believing it, you question what those people believe. If you see the media telling you a lie, and you still see people complying with the lie, the actual lie, that goes to show you the level of the intelligence of that person. They don't question anything. They have so much trust. They have so much invested trust in this, that even when they're wrong, they still get supported. And I find that interesting. I find that so interesting, man. Man, question these things, man. Question these things, man. I can't even stress that enough, man. If you see something going on, question it, because that's here's the thing. If there's something you should do, it's just question it, man. Just question it. But yeah, I pretty much said everything I needed to say for today's podcast. Like I said, if you're watching, make sure to go and leave a comment. If you have anything positively to contribute to this podcast, I want you to go and leave in the comments, man. Like I said, all these topics I want to be up for discussion. So you watching this right now, I hope you can contribute to this conversation if you would like. If you don't want to, bro, what are you doing here, bro? What are you doing? Come on now. I'm running out of water, unfortunately. But getting back into it, let me see if I missed any specific points that I think is worth mentioning. I hope I contributed positively. Yes, Josh, you're contributing, so you're contributing positively. Appreciate that very, very much. More than you know, more than you know. All right. Yeah, like I said, I pretty much said everything I needed to say, man. I'll reiterate the questions that you should ask yourself again for the people that are just coming in right now. All right. The question for today's podcast is, who influences you? Another question you must ask yourself, along with that main question, is, do you want this to condition your mind? Because you have the ability to truly say whether you want your mind to be conditioned by these things that are being told to you, or you have the ability to question what you're being told, right? So, do you want this to condition your mind? Where are you even getting your information from? Where you're getting your news from? What is it actual? Is it an actual credible source? And are you truly invested in the belief in this thing, or this media company, or whatever it is, right? News, whatever it is, and hopefully the information that you're getting is also questioning the information that it's getting as well, right? Which is very, very important. Do you think people are in media control for more than just money? Of course, man. It's always more than just money, man. His question was, do you think people are in media control for more than just money? Josh, it goes so much deeper than money, man. I can make a whole podcast on this. It goes, people want influence and people want power. That's what it comes down to. People that have a lot of money, they don't want more money. They're looking for something else, man. They're looking for power. They're looking for control. They're looking for influence. That's all it is, man. But that is just keeping it 1,000, man. Like I said, you get to this, when you play this game enough, and you get advanced in it enough, and you make enough money. Like I said, there's always going to be something more. There's always going to be something more. Like I said, the control, the power, the influence. Those things in itself are more important than money, 100%. And and here's the thing: you could try to debate me on that. You can't really, because it's truly true, right? And you can observe that within the people in power. But yeah, man. Like I said, hopefully y'all can recognize, man. The veil for me has been lifted to an extent, right? Of course, there's going to be a lot of things I don't know, but truly, I know a lot of things that most people don't, because most people never question, so most people never find out, right? And hopefully, you now watching this, hopefully I've enlightened you in some type of capacity, right? And hopefully you start to begin to question the things and the structure that society is built on, because truly it is worth questioning. Money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you the minds. All right, for sure, for sure. Money can't buy happiness. Definitely can't, but it'll help. It'll help a lot. I'll tell you that. It'll help a lot, man. All right, give me 1 second, man. Like I said, if you're on Twitch, I'm checking the Twitch chat often. So, like I said, if you have anything to say, make sure to leave it in the chat. But yeah, like I said, hopefully y'all got some game from this. If you didn't, you're a lost cause, man. That's all I gotta say, man. If you didn't get any value from today's podcast, you either should know everything that I had mentioned, or you're a lost cause, and I think it's just as simple as that. Um, yeah, my main message, and then I'll go ahead and end it off here in a minute. But ultimately, what I want you to do is question the things that are being told to you. Don't fully believe everything, because truly everything is not worth believing in fully, right? Question these things. Question the things that you do. Question the inputs that you get. The question who you allow inside of the influence of your own mind, right? You don't have to believe all these things that you're being told. That's what I'll say. And yeah, I would say that's in your best interest. Question these things. The more you begin to question, like I said, the more the veil will be lifted. And ideally, what you want is to truly have a better understanding of this world. And hopefully, you watching this, you want a better understanding of this world. Begin to question. And the second you begin to question, like I'd mentioned, you start to see patterns. You start to question the entire foundation of what society is built on. And I think that's important, because hopefully, if you have enough people questioning, you'll have more conversations and you'll have more change. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I'm pretty sure you watching this, you're not satisfied with the structure that society's built on. So hopefully, by having a conversation like this, it's going to contribute to more conversations that are similar to this, which will then lead to a society that is better than the society that we're living in right now. Um, because when you think about it, right, the second that we can't question things, there's only one route to go towards, and it's whoever's in power is going to have complete control over what route you take. Question things. Question things. That's what I have to say. That's my entire emphasis on this entire podcast. Question these things, because the second that you don't question is the second you're being blindly led by people who might not have the best interest in mind for you. And it's as simple as that. Another thing that I want to mention, like I said, one of my main last messages of this podcast is, if you don't like something that's being said in society, make sure you voice your opinion on it, because if you have enough people who are blindly complying, who deep down inside, who don't agree with what's being told, but yet is not saying anything about it, your society is going to be changed because of that, right? It's going to be you're going to have the ultimate consequence for you not saying anything. Even if, like I said, even if you don't agree, not saying something is pretty much in turn going against you. That's ultimately what I have to say for that. But you would think if you would think, right? Something's being said, you don't agree with it, but you keep your opinion out of it, right? Fine, right? But if enough people do that, then whatever lie and whatever you disagree with will now be contributed to this structure that the society is built on. And you're forever going to have people who view things that they don't like, who don't say anything, and you guys start to live in a world where you truly don't enjoy the existence of this world. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. And that's what I start to see. The reason why I'm mentioning is because I start to see tendencies in our own society that are like that, where you have people who don't agree with things, but who are too chicken to say anything. So therefore, what's being propagated to us as a society is being prolonged, because people won't say anything. People won't step up because maybe they're too afraid to hurt people's feelings. But ultimately, what it comes down to is this: hey, nobody's afraid of hurting your feelings. So why the hell should you be afraid of hurting somebody else's feelings? And I say that in the best way possible. I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm saying that in the best way possible, right? People are not going to care about your opinions to an extent. People are not always going to agree with your opinions to an extent. So therefore, you shouldn't always have to agree with everyone else's opinions around you. And ultimately, like I said, society should be negotiated, man. It should be negotiated by the people. That is my opinion, right? It should be negotiated by the people. And if it's not being negotiated by the people, then we're all being controlled, right? And of course, hopefully, when I say we're all being controlled, hopefully that turns you off completely, because truly, that shouldn't be the existence that you want to live in. But ultimately, that's pretty much all I have to say for today's podcast. Like I said, if you got any value, make sure you leave a like. If you didn't get any value, like I said, maybe you're just not looking you're not looking in the right spot, man. Hopefully, like if you didn't get value from this, hopefully you've already learned everything that I've said on today's podcast, which would be great for society. But ultimately, yeah, that is exactly what I have to say for today's podcast. I'll leave you guys off a few minutes to go ahead and leave a comment. Like I said, if there's anything that you question, if there's any questions that you have, leave them in the comments, and then I'll go ahead and end it off here shortly. I can't believe there's people watching and people not saying anything, man. That's so crazy, man. That's so crazy. What's the point of watching, man, if you can't say anything? You can actually contribute to this, right? This is going to be one of the few things that you consume on a daily basis that you can actually say something and actually change. But you're not saying anything, man. Come on, say something in the comments, man. But yeah. If you can't tell, this has been on my mind for a little bit now, right? Like I said, I'll leave you guys off a few minutes. I'll give you all about a minute and a half more. So like I said, if you're typing something up, make sure you type it quick, and then I'll go ahead and end it off. Josh, I appreciate you for enjoying the content, my man. Like I said, man, you just gotta do something like this, man. It's so much fun. You give me something to watch, and I want to give back. I appreciate that, man. Like I said, ultimately, what it comes down to is this, and I said this earlier. Let me see if I can find the thing that I mentioned. GDP, appreciate for stopping by. Like I said, if you haven't been watching up into this point, make sure you go ahead and rewatch it. But ultimately, what it comes down to is this, and this is gonna be one of my main I would say mottos, but this is one of my main objectives with this podcast in the first place, right? I just want to be a part of motivation and part direction that's going to help you be steered in the right path. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to, right? I want to contribute to you actually having good inputs that you actually should have, right? So that's ultimately what I'm trying to do with this podcast, man. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Like I said, if you have any last second comments, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Sarah, of course, coming in clutch. Um, but yeah, if there's anything you guys have left to say, make sure you go and say it real quick, and then I'll go ahead and end it off. But like I said, hopefully this affects somebody. Hopefully it helps somebody. Yeah, that's ultimately what we're trying to do, man. I'm trying to just contribute to the good in this world. That's what I'm trying to contribute, man. I'm trying to be a positive direction, motivation for somebody in their path. That's ultimately what I'm trying to do. But yeah. Okay, this was episode 134 of the Life of a Champ podcast, talking about who is influencing you, asking all those great questions that I've been asking throughout the entire podcast, trying to get you to hopefully analyze and question the things that you're being told, right? I'll leave you guys off with the podcast model. Y'all already know what time it is, man. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all work with these motherfuckers, because you know that I am, man. Come on, you already know what time it is, man. So y'all have a good night. Stay tuned in for the next podcast on Tuesday. I'll be having one on Tuesday and Thursday next week, as usual. Yeah, one thing I want to reiterate is make sure you go ahead and leave a like on my TikToks that I just posted. So like I said, if you are in love with short form content, which most people are, make sure you go ahead and tap it with that on TikTok. Also, like I said, make sure to leave a like on my YouTube Shorts, which I did post some more of, as well as my YouTube clips. I'll be having another music live stream hopefully soon. I want to do it. I might do one tonight. I can't commit to that fully. I definitely want to do one soon, because there's going to be a lot of new music coming out, and I've been listening to a lot of new music myself. So I'll be doing that hopefully very, very soon. 3 equals 2, 2 equals 1, 1 equals none. Exactly right. Other than that, y'all have a good rest of your night. And one thing I gotta leave you guys off on. One thing I want to leave you guys off with is this: question everything. Y'all have a good night, man.